So we can, yeah, in the previous class, we have discussed different types of reading. Okay, in this class, let us discuss, okay, uh, yeah, in this class, let us discuss what are the techniques of reading. What are the techniques generally considered to be as techniques of reading? Of course, some scholars, they consider, yeah, so this reading involves two techniques. One is skimming and another one scanning. Skimming and scanning, these two are the techniques of reading. So skimming is reading rapidly. Skimming is reading rapidly in order to get a general overview of the material. In order to get a general overview of the material. Okay, in skimming process, you are going to read important lines so that you are going to read orally, orally as a general reading, and you may come out with some information, or you may come out with the main idea of that particular passage or the material. Okay, whereas in scanning is reading rapidly. Scanning is reading rapidly in order to find specific facts. Scanning is reading rapidly in order to find specific facts. It helps us to locate a particular fact. Okay, so if you want to find a particular information, okay, if you want to find what is a for example, Renaissance. Okay, you do not read all the book of that glossary of literary terms. If you have glossary of literary terms book, so in order to find the specific information, generally we will scan for that information. We will scan certain books or other materials. Okay, if you want to get some information related to the topic Renaissance or a neoclassicism, then you do not read the total book of glossary of literature. That you do not read the total book. That is the glossary of literary terms. In that glossary of literary terms, you may find out where that particular topic is. That is a Renaissance or that is neoclassicism. Directly, you may go to that page and you may find out the information. This is scanning process. But whereas if you want to know what is the plot summary of your novel, you do not read the book mindfully to study every detail in that book. You may read casually the total text and you may come up with a particular gist or a particular essence or summary of the information, right? So when you come up with such essence or gist of or the main idea of that particular material, then we call it skimming. Then we call it skimming. Okay, if you search for a specific information in so and so pages, then that is scanning. Okay, let me explain more clearly what is this. Okay, So let us discuss few more points. Okay, skimming is a procedure for overviewing or previewing the materials to determine the content, to review the material already read, or to determine whether the information is pertinent to the needs. Okay, when you read a particular, when you actually skimming is a procedure. Skimming is a procedure for overviewing or previewing. Okay, there are 3 steps in reading. Okay, previewing, reading. Okay, previewing, viewing, and overviewing. Okay, so yeah, skimming is a procedure for overviewing or reviewing the material to determine the content, to know what is the content, to know what is the main idea of the text. Okay, and not only for that, to review the material already read, to review the material already read, or to determine whether that information is pertinent to the need. Okay, whether that information is suitable to that need, right? This is the skimming. Okay, even we can say by skimming, we can choose the relevant information and discard, okay, the irrelevant information. Okay, by this skimming process, we can separate which is needed information, which is related information, and which is irrelevant information, which is irrelevant information, right? We may separate. Okay, so it allows to cover rapidly in this skimming. Okay, it allows to cover rapidly a large amount of the material, a large amount of the material to obtain some idea of the content, some idea of the content. Okay, you think if you need to read a novel for 1 month or 1.5 month, then imagine how much time you may take to refer other books related to that particular novel. Surely you may take 1 more month. But in this skimming method, as we do not go through the all details specifically, okay, we can cover large amount of the information, to gain some idea of the content, Okay, so in this skimming technique, we may follow like this. First, we may read the title of the article, chapter, or book. Okay, first we may read the title. Okay, if you are searching for John Milton's Paradise Lost, okay, then if you find Dr. Faustus, what is the use? Okay, there is no use. Okay, by title itself, first you may decide whether that book is at least relevant to that particular topic or not. That's why in this skimming technique, we may read the title of the chapter or book or article to know about the content of the selection, to know about the content, what may be there in that particular article, chapter, or book, right? So, reading the major headings and the subheadings to determine, okay, by reading the main headings and the subheadings of that particular book or article, we can determine what the author considers the main idea of the selection. What the author considers the main idea of the selection, right? Okay, so if you go through that book, if you turn the pages of that particular article or a chapter in a book or a book, okay, by understanding the main headings and subheadings, you can decide, okay, what the other considers. What the other considers. Okay, so if you want to know, okay, epic elements in Paradise Lost, epic elements in Paradise Lost, then what is the use? What is the use to refer? What is the use to refer? Yeah, the summary of the novel. Sorry, the summary of that particular time. Okay, or that particular epic, or a particular book of that Paradise Lost. That may be ninth or fifth or first one or second one, whatever it may be. Okay, you are searching for elements, epic elements, but you are referring the summary. Then what is the use? There is no use. Okay, that's why we should determine what the other considers or what the other expresses in that particular information by understanding the subheadings. Okay, reading the first and the last paragraphs. Reading the first and last paragraphs of selection. Generally, if you read the first paragraph and the last paragraph, you can understand. In the first paragraph, there may be introduction about that particular article or that particular chapter or that particular book. Okay, at the end, in the last paragraph, reading. So reading the first and last paragraphs of a selection is also the technique. This is also the technique. Okay. So the students here are trying to guess what the story is about from the title, from the main title, from the main headings, and from subheadings. We can guess what that particular book is about. What that book is about. Okay. So this is a skimming process, dear students. This is a skimming process. Then what is scanning? What is scanning? Scanning is a technique. Scanning is a technique for finding number, names, dates, and answers to the specific questions. Okay, in this reading process, sorry, in this scanning process. Okay, so in this scanning technique, we may find numbers, names, dates, answers to the particular or specific questions. Okay, so searching for a specific information. Okay, if you want to know where is a person's a particular hotel, that means Haveli Dakshin, for example, in Kakinada, then you may find where the Haveli Dakshin is, but you do not visit all the restaurants. You do not visit all the restaurants in this Kakinada. Okay, that's why here in this scanning process, we may go directly to that particular information, to that specific information. That is scanning. Okay, a reader allows his or her eyes to scan quickly. Okay, our eyes may scan quickly. Okay, by looking like this, we may quickly read those lines. Of course, actually, we do not read those lines with our eyes. We may try to scan whether that information is relevant to our need or not. Okay, reader allows his or her eyes, okay, to scan quickly but methodically over the material until she finds the information she is looking for. Until she finds the information she is looking for. Okay. When you take notes, in my classroom, when you take notes, at the end, if I ask a question, surely you may search for the answer for my question in your running notes. Okay, when you search for that, directly you may try to find out where that answer is. Okay, that is scanning process, dear students. Okay, of course, looking through an index to find an entry pertinent to a certain topic. Okay, we can first look at we can look through the through an index so that we can find in which page that particular information is, in which page that particular information is, right? So in such a way, dear students, we can scan the information. Okay, so in this reading, surely these two are very important techniques, very important techniques. Okay, but okay, that depends on whether it is intensive reading or extensive reading, right? So these are the two techniques, skimming and scanning, right? So
Small doubt, sir.
okay, you do not read all the content in the page in the pages. Okay, first you scan the main heading.
Okay, sir.
When you scan the main headings,
Yes, sir.
if you find any heading is interesting, then you may go through that information. Okay, when you read a particular information in the newspaper, then you may come out with a particular gist. You may come out with summary of that news. Okay,
Okay, sir.
identifying selecting a particular news is scanning, but reading that particular news and come up with some information is skimming. Got my point? Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah, that is a skimming and scan. Yeah, the scholars or experts in this reading method, or in this communication skills, okay, or in this language skills, okay, for reading, okay, they gave a formula. They gave a formula, SQ3R. Better write down. Yes, sir. Stands for school. Okay, Q stands for queen or question, and number 3, and R. Okay, let me explain this formula. Yeah, actually this topic is SQ3R formula for strategic reading. SQ3R formula for strategic reading. Okay, S means here, S means survey.
Okay.
Surveying. Okay, next one, Q means questioning. Question. S means survey, Q means question, and 3 R's there. R. Okay, the first R is read.
Okay.
Read. R-E-A-D, read. Okay, second R is recite. R-E-C-I-T-E. R-E-C-I-T-E, recite. Generally, in early schooling, the children may recite. Okay, malli palugutu నేర్చుకుంటారు కదా, that's recitation, right? And then the last R is revise. Okay, so this is the formula for reading. Okay, now let me explain what are these. Okay, the first one is survey. Dear students, when you read a particular information, especially the reference books, first you should survey the main headings and subheadings. The main headings and subheadings. Okay, what are the chapters? What are the, how many chapters are there? What are the titles of the chapters? And what are the main headings and subheadings in each chapter? This is a surveying. This is surveying. Okay, but when you read the novel, you do not find all these things, you know. You do not find all these things. For that, first you should get some source, so you should get some information from other sources that what are the characters in that novel. This is the general survey. What are the characters in this novel? And what is the plot summary of the novel? Okay, then what are the main themes of the novel? Okay, if you get some information from other sources, either from teacher or from that internet, okay, first you can have a overview on that particular novel. Having that overview, if you start that novel, surely you can understand each and every point in that novel. Okay, that's why teachers generally first give the characters and the plot summary of the novel. Okay, so this is a reading technique. Okay, this is a reading formula, strategic reading formula. Okay, surveying the main ideas, surveying the important ideas in that particular text, what we are reading. Okay, second one is while reading, we should not blindly believe every statement. We should not blindly believe every statement. Everywhere, whenever we have a doubt, we should question ourselves. Okay, if you are reading yourself, you should question yourself so that you can read again from the beginning to get the clear idea. To get the clear idea. Okay, let me tell you an example. Okay, yeah, the culture of the American people are is so and so. If you read the material, okay, in that if you could find a statement that the culture of Americans is so and so, then first you should understand what is the culture. Without knowing the word what is culture, then how can you understand that particular statement? That particular statement. That's why, dear students, okay, everywhere, okay, whenever you find a difficult word, whenever you feel some confusion in any statement, then you have to question so that you can understand that information well. Okay, suddenly he came and he killed the man. Suddenly, yeah, suddenly, if anyone comes, or if you read a statement like this in a book, he suddenly came and killed that man, then surely you may have a doubt in your mind. Who came? Who killed? Who was killed? What is that story? And where he was killed? Likewise, you may have many questions in your mind. You may have many questions in your mind, right? So, dear students, okay, likewise we can find such, you can get good information when you question yourself, Okay, yeah, first having some survey, you may question what may be the content, and then you have to read carefully. You have to read carefully the text. Okay, after reading one time, after reading once, you may recite. You may recite that book again, that chapter again. Okay, don't expect that you can remember everything in that book reading only one time. It is not possible. Even for great intellectual, for great intelligent fellows, it is necessary to read again and again. To read again and again. Okay, recitation is important. In case of some statements, in case of some formulas, in case of some definitions, we have to recite carefully so that we can remember that information. Okay. Done. Then the last one is revise. The last one is revise. Okay. So after reading and reciting again, the reader has to revise the total text. The reader has to revise the total text. For example, you have been studying, okay, you have been studying our 100 pages book, but it is not possible to read 100 pages book within 1 hour or 2 hours. Okay, you may take some pause. Okay, maybe half an hour or 1 hour. Again, you may start. Again, after 1 hour, you may stop. Likewise, in series, you may read that book. But after coming with, after finishing that text, okay, in order to have the clear idea, you have to, okay, you have to revise the text totally. You have to revise the text from the beginning to the end again, so that you can come up with the complete essence of that particular text. Okay, so this is a SQ3R formula, dear students. SQ3R formula for strategic reading. Right? So, dear students, these are the techniques we discussed and reading strategies we discussed. That means using a formula SQ3R. Okay. Now the question is, how to develop reading skill? Right? So, dear students, in reading a text, we may encounter several problems, but understanding how to develop reading skill, we can overcome all those problems. Okay, so how to develop reading skill? Okay, the first strategy or the first idea is previewing the information. Okay, what do we do? It is easier to understand what we are reading if we begin with the general idea of what the passage is about. Okay, if you read, okay, if you read extensively, okay, so that you can come up with some idea. You may read extensively or you may follow the skimming technique. Then you may come up with a general idea of what the passage is. Okay, even when you prepare for examination, first you have to know what is the essence or general idea of the novel or the general idea of the poem. Then you have to read the specific information so that you can remember and so that you can reproduce in the examination, right? So previewing help us in forming a general idea of the topic in our minds. Okay, if you preview that information, you may come up with a general idea in your mind. You may come up with a general idea in your mind, right? So to preview, read the title. If there is one, then read the first sentence of each paragraph, because in each paragraph, the first sentence is a topic sentence or the sentence of the theme. The topic sentence or sentence of the theme in that paragraph. Okay, by reading the first statement of a paragraph, we can understand what is that information, what that information is related to. Okay, to what that information is related. Okay, so we have to read the first sentence of each paragraph and the last sentence of the passage so that we can come to know what may be the conclusion. What may be the conclusion, right? So we should do this as quickly as possible. We have to do this previewing process as quickly as possible. Okay. We are not reading for specific information. We are reading for just an impression of the topic. We are not reading for specific information. We are just reading for an impression of the topic, right? Next point is reading for the main idea. This is also, by doing this, also we can develop our reading skill. Okay, next step or next idea is reading for the main ideas. By reading for the main ideas, we can identify the point of view of the other. The point of view of the other. Okay, the other's point of view may be identified by reading the main ideas. Okay, here we have in our mind such questions. Okay, what is the main idea? What is the subject? What is the topic? If we question these points, then we can come up with the main idea while reading. You can come up with main ideas while reading, right? So, using context for vocabulary. Okay, generally, when you read, this context is very, very important because the words have meaning contextually. That's why we can understand or we can develop our vocabulary. Stock of vocabulary. We can enrich our stock of vocabulary. Okay, excuse me.